Well, again, this is the first lecture of a series on how to make da'wah to Muslims and non-Muslims and new Muslims as well. And inshallah, every Monday after Isha, we'll be meeting for about 45 minutes. And we'll share with you some of the techniques that I've learned over time on how to make da'wah. Why da'wah is very important, I'm going to give you the answer after we show you this video. This is how North Americans and Canadians think about Muslims and the people around them.
World their country runs. Coffee and air is a drink, true or false?
Coffee's a drink.
Coffee and what?
It sounds like a law firm.
Okay, who is Tony Blair?
I don't even know.
Okay, all right, any guess? Free world their country runs. Coffee and air is a drink, true or false?
Coffee's a drink.
Coffee and what?
It sounds like a law firm.
Okay, who is Tony Blair?
I don't even know.
Okay, all right, any guess?
Any guess? Skater?
Tony Blair is an actor.
Linda Blair's brother?
Which countries are in the axis of evil?
I know Germany's one of them. I'm not sure of the other ones.
Okay, California.
Yep.
New York.
Jerusalem. Jerusalem.
Okay, there's more than one.
I think all of them.
Does it stop with us?
Florida.
Okay, I'm a little bit mixed up on the Palestinians and the Israelis. Okay, which one is throwing the rocks?
I can't think of the other name of the other one. The fellow with the turban thing, and I call it a diaper head, really.
And I believe Mississippi.
Who was the first man on the moon?
John Glenn.
Armstrong walked on the moon, but I think it was a Russian, I'm not sure.
Well, I gotta tell you, some people don't believe that happened. They believe that was reincarnated in Arizona somewhere.
What is a mosque?
Don't have any idea.
You want to guess?
An animal.
I have. Oh, intelligent guess.
Okay, do you want to make a stupid guess? How many kidneys does a person have?
One.
What is collateral damage?
Well, they just made a film about it, but that's definitely not what it is. It probably has something to do with what the movie was about, but not necessarily related to the movie. Do you know what I mean?
How many world wars have there been?
3.
Which state does KFC come from?
What, the chicken? I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, do you know what KFC stands for?
Kentucky Fried Chicken, right?
Star Wars is based on a true story. True or false?
True.
What are Hiroshima and Nagasaki famous for?
What is it, judo wrestling or whatever?
Where is the West Bank?
On the East Coast, probably.
I'd say somewhere in New York.
How many Eiffel Towers are there in Paris?
I say about 10.
What is Al-Qaeda?
Al-Qaeda is a group, suicide group in Israel and Middle East that they do suicide bombs and stuff.
Okay, right, yep.
And the president of it is Yasser Arafat.
Right, yep. Okay.
Mr. Myers, Al-Qaeda is a wing of the Masonic Order.
Where was the Berlin Wall? What is the main religion of Israel?
Muslim.
The language they speak in Latin America is Latin. True or false?
The what?
Believe me, I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm thinking.
Okay.
Israel?
We'll take a short break. When we come back,
As you can see, most people don't know nothing about Islam. And there have been a lot of recent studies that test people's knowledge of Islam and the Muslim world. And they say that Islamophobia in the West is not caused by the lack of knowledge in North America, but by the misinformation that people get all the time about Islam. They know a little bit about Islam, but almost everything they know about Islam is wrong. Why? Because if you don't know something about something, what do? Because you are busy working 2-3 shifts, and this is a materialistic world, and you have to work all the time. So you always listen to the news, whether it's radio or the TV, or you read the newspapers, okay? So this is where most people get their knowledge about Islam from. And this is what they tell them in the media about Islam and Muslims. We start with Aladdin movie, the cartoon movie that came out in 1992. This is how they describe Iraq back then in the song, in the film. So this is how they describe Iraq in a cartoon movie for kids. I come from a faraway place where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. Okay, thank you. Then of course, if you get your knowledge from Fox News, it's gonna be worse. So what they do all the time, they invite conservatives, people who claim to be jihad experts, and they don't know nothing about Islam, or most of the time they invite who call themselves former Muslims to speak about Islam. So for example, if you listen to this guy, we'll start with this guy.
So let me ask this again. So when people talk about moderate Islam, you're saying it doesn't exist?
It doesn't exist. But I tell you what happens, that Muslims have moralities, responsibilities, logics more than their God. The most criminal, terrorist Muslim has morality, a minimum of humanity more than his God. Their God is a terrorist and ignorant.
All right, last question.
First of all, I just have to give you this quote and get your thoughts. I don't have my glasses. The fact that in Mohammedan law, every woman must belong to some man as his absolute property, either as a child, a wife, or a concubine, must delay the final extinction of slavery until the faith of Islam has ceased to be a great power among men. Pretty outrageous stuff.
Yeah.
You didn't say that, though.
I didn't say that, no.
No. Winston Churchill said that.
Yeah, Winston Churchill, as a matter of fact, in a book in the 50s, also made a comparison, like Oriana Fallaci in Italy, but also Winston Churchill, the comparison between Mein Kampf and the Quran.
So this is what they call, of course, what the first guy did, this guy here, is one of the propaganda techniques used in the media. It is called name calling. That when you call Islam, you give Islam a bad name, or you call Muslims a bad name. It's called name calling. And what this guy did, it's a testimonial. What he did basically, there are about 16 or 17 propaganda techniques. He used what they call testimonial. If Winston Churchill said that Islam is a bad religion, and he said that the Quran is like Mein Kampf, do you know what Mein Kampf is? Who? Hitler's book. And you know how much people hate Hitler. So when you say that the Quran is like Mein Kampf, of course this is also name calling, but what he used is testimonial. When you get someone famous and you quote their words about something like Islam, and you say, because they say it is bad, it has to be bad because this famous person said it. So it has to be true. And this guy is making what they call in propaganda techniques generalization.
You said, for example, in my radio show last week, which we appreciate, you said that you believe that the true practitioners of Islam, real Islam, are the radicals, and the moderates aren't practicing real Islam. So actual Islam is a radical religion in your view.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's kind of like most Christians don't read the Bible very much. I believe most Muslims don't read the Quran very much.
So you're calling it a violent religion?
And, yeah, well, that's why most Muslims are not radical. But when someone begins to really study the Quran, and they begin to read the 109 verses that call for violence and war, they become very, very different. They become radical. They feel that they need to convert people by force.
So can you understand why that?
Okay, this is called generalization. He's saying basically, if you are not practicing Islam, you are a good guy. If you start to practice Islam and read the Quran and you start to pray and come to the mosque, you are a terrorist. This is his definition of the word terrorist. Today, the brochure, the pamphlet got out. And as I said before, this is one of the biggest projects, da'wah projects in the history of Alberta. And I was told that some people started to complain and they started calling their MPs. And they were saying, oh, Muslims are sending us this pamphlet, they are trying to force Sharia on us. Why? Because they listen to Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly and Fox News all the time. So this is what they put in their heads. So it is sad, it is sad. Okay. Today, inshallah, we'll talk about what is da'wah, the different types of da'wah, and who is qualified to give the da'wah. Of course, over the past few years, the biggest helper in the field of da'wah at Al-Rashid has been Nabil Nashman. And of course, we used to have some volunteers, but some of them, they traveled, some of them ran away, and so on and so forth. So we have two options, either to clone Nabil Nashman and make many copies of him, and this is going to cost a lot of money, or we can get some good brothers and sisters like yourself and train them on how to do da'wah. I gave this course last year, and we got several brothers and sisters who were helping us with da'wah. And I gotta say that my biggest two helpers in the past year in da'wah were Nabil Nashman and brother Amir Uwaida, rahimahullah. He used to help me all the time. He used to take me to places to make da'wah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rest his soul in peace. And in the winter, he used to, of course, he used to drive around, his cab driver. In the summer, he used to do construction work. So he used to take da'wah material from my office all the time. He keeps Quran all the time. We kept Quran all the time with him, booklets and materials. And every time he got someone, a customer with him, he would start a conversation about Islam, then he would give them a Quran. So he was using his work to do da'wah as well. So one of our biggest problems in the da'wah work is we are not organized. If you compare Muslims to Christian missionaries, for example, they are very organized. They spend billions of dollars every year, and they are supported by organizations. Most Muslims who work in the field of da'wah, they work individually. They don't have organizations supporting them, and they need to beg people for money to do da'wah. Sometimes, of course, it's an individual duty, and it has to be done collectively. Otherwise, we will miss the point. About a month ago, this sister called me and she said, subhanAllah, statistically 75% of all the people who accept Islam are women. This is a fact. In my case, I would say more than 90% of the people that I gave Shahada, more than 90% have been women. I don't know why. Maybe irresistible, but I don't know why. But I always use this to prove to people that Islam is not oppressive to women. Because if Islam is bad to women, how come that the great majority of people who are accepting Islam are women? It doesn't make sense. So this sister called and she traveled to Jordan to visit for some time, and she liked the culture, she heard a lot about Islam, so she wanted to know more. Eventually, alhamdulillah, a few days later, she came back and she took Shahada, alhamdulillah. So we sat a little bit for about 20 minutes in my office. I gave her a little bit of an introduction to Islam. And, okay, now this is the time for the tour. So I invited her to this hall and I started to explain. As soon as we entered the door, there was this old brother who was sitting here. He saw us and he came toward us fast like a bullet. And he pushed himself on the conversation. And he started to tell the lady about his adventures in the past when he traveled to this country and to that. And he ignored that I was there completely. And he started to talk about terrorism. He started to talk about Sunnah and Shia and all that. La hawla wa so, and he started to give her the 5 pillars of Islam and all the stuff that I told her about, except for the his adventures and the Sunni Shia things. Because when people come to learn about Islam, you don't bombard them with all the bad stuff. The divisions, the Sunnis and Shias and all that stuff and the terrorism. The reason they are running away from their own religion is because of division. This is Protestants, this is Catholic, this is Jehovah's Witness, this is Mormon, this. So they hate this, and this is what makes them leave. And when they come to us, we tell them, yeah, we have Sufis, we have Shias, we have Quran Muslims, we have them. So you make them feel horrible. Now you make them feel like, okay, Islam is not very much different from what I left, so okay, I think I should stay as I am. For half an hour, he was telling the lady, and every time I tried to interrupt to tell him I already told her that stuff, and she has been reading about Islam. What is this? You don't force yourself on people like this, okay? Don't set my boundaries, because I studied Sharia, I studied Da'wah for about 27 years, I know what I'm doing, okay? If you are an electrician, you're trying to do your job, I'm not going to step your boundaries and start to talk to your customers about electricity. This is not your business. Da'wah comes from the root word da'a, to invite, and technically da'wah is to spread awareness of Islam, to teach people about Islam. This is our responsibility, to be the FedEx people for Islam, to deliver the message of Islam, to convey and not to convert. And the Prophet ﷺ was told the same thing in the Quran, إِنْ عَلَيْكَ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Your job is just to convey, not to convert. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكَ هُدَاهُمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Their guidance is not up to you. Guidance is where? In the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes you look at someone and you think, subhanAllah, I meet these people all the time. You feel they are very nice people, subhanAllah, and some of them, like they have beards and they look like Muslims and nice, mashallah, and the ladies are very decent, everything. You think they are Muslim, but they are not. Even if you make da'wah to them, some of them don't accept Islam. Like Abu Talib way. And it also happens the other way around. Some people like Umar radiallahu anhu, and the Muslims used to say that لَنْ يُسْلِمَ عُمَرْ حَتَّى يُسْلِمَ حِمَارُ الْخَطَّابِ. Umar will never accept Islam until his father's donkey accepts Islam, which means hopeless case. Then he accepted Islam. In the Khutbah al-Jum'ah, I gave the story of Brother Abdul Rahim Green. We'll take a look at him in a minute. And he told me, we're having dinner together, and he told me that a couple of years back, he is a revert to Islam, and he makes a lot of da'wah, mashallah, very active in da'wah. He told me they were walking in the streets of London one day, giving out pamphlets about Islam. So they came across this guy, and that guy, as I said, he wore three things. Sunglasses, a pair of shoes, and shorts. That's it. Because it was the summer, maybe. So, and he said this guy had tattoos from head to toe. He was covered by tattoos, everything, women and birds and things on his body. And he said, when I saw him, wallahi, he looked like the shaitan to me. So I told my friend with me, get away from this guy, he's going to waste our time. He will never accept Islam. Then he said there were a group together. The last one in the group, he was a little bit, late. He came and he met that guy and he gave him a pamphlet. And he said he started to read the whole thing. It was like 2-4 pages. He read them and he said he took shahada on the spot. Why? Because hidayah is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't judge people by their looks. Sometimes you work with someone for so many years and they don't know you are Muslim. Why? Because we are trying to hide our identity. We are afraid. You don't look like a Muslim. You don't use a Muslim name. Oh, they start calling you Mike, Johnny, Bobby, Rich, all that stuff. So nobody knows you are a Muslim. And subhanAllah, in many cases, those who accept Islam, several ones, they told me, and I've seen that before, they said, where have you been? Why didn't you teach us about Islam before this? If you taught us about Islam before this, my dad, wallahi, could have accepted Islam before he died. But you guys, you never deliver the message to us. And we are not doing enough in da'wah. So as I said, we do da'wah to Muslims. Those who don't practice the religion, we give them nasiha. This is the da'wah to Muslims. Al-amr bil-ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. Of course, to new Muslims, to teach them about Islam, how to pray, how to do things. And to non-Muslims, to deliver the message to them. Whether they accept or not, it is not your business. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf, وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ, this is the truth from your Lord, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ. Let those who want to believe, believe. Those who don't want to believe, it's up to them. Da'wah is an obligation on every Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ said, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Convey my message even in the form of one ayah. One ayah. Hidayah is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we read in the seerah of the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ, a lot of them who did da'wah to whole tribes and cities, and they accepted Islam. Abu Dharr al-Ghifar accepted Islam because of him, one person. And Ghifar, before Islam, his tribe, they were what? Thieves. So he made da'wah to them, they accepted Islam. Al-Tufayl ibn Amr al-Dawsi, he was the head of his tribe, and his tribe was located somewhere between Yemen and Saudi Arabia. And he came to Mecca for the Hajj before Islam, so he met the Fox News people. Bill O'Reilly, Abu Jahl, and Glenn Beck and Hannity, the other guys. So they told him, don't listen to Muhammad, he's breaking families up. If you listen to him, his words are like sihr, magic. So don't listen to him. He said, Wallahi, and this is in Sirah ibn Hisham, he said, they told me bad stuff about the Prophet ﷺ until I filled my ears with cotton. So I don't listen to him. But he said when I was making tawaf around the Kaaba, and the Prophet ﷺ was reading Quran, I overheard what he was reciting, and I took shahada after I spoke to the Prophet ﷺ. Of course, Malcolm X, the great majority of the hundreds of thousands of African Americans who are Muslim now in the US are Muslim because of Malcolm X. Yani rahimahullah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him the reward. And of course, Imam Mustafa Muhammad, he was the head of the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X was his mentor, and in 1975, when he succeeded his father, Elijah Muhammad, as the head of the Nation of Islam, I studied the Nation of Islam for 3 years for my master's. And when he assumed the leadership, he led people to Islam and to renounce the teachings of his father, Elijah Muhammad. And that was probably the largest number of people taking Shahada at the same time. Hundreds of thousands of people take Shahada in 1977, 2 years after he became the president of the organization. Hundreds of thousands of people, they took Shahada at the same time. So they left the Nation of Islam and they became Muslims. These are probably the 10 most successful dua in the world. They have one thing in common.
All converts.
All converts to Islam. None of them was born and raised Muslim. All of them accepted Islam. They are new Muslims, all of them. The most famous and most successful dua in the world, they are reverts to Islam, new people. Why? Because they speak good English, they understand the culture in the West. But us, most of us who come from the Muslim world, they start to speak with broken English, they don't know the language, they don't know the culture, so they can't do da'wah in the best way. But these people, they know how to talk to people. They talk the talk and they walk the walk. Of course, Yusuf Estes, who was a minister himself, a Christian minister before he accepted Islam, Siraj Wahaj, and Khalid Yassin, this one, and Suhaib Wib. He is an American. He was living in California. He was 17. He was a gang member. And he ended up in jail. He accepted Islam in jail when he was 17 years old. When he got out, several years later, he moved to Egypt to study at Al-Azhar. Now he has a doctorate degree from Al-Azhar in Sharia in Arabic. So he speaks Arabic better than me, and of course his English is better than me. But he's a scholar now. You have Dr. Abdul Hakim Quick, and you have Yusuf Islam, everybody knows him. He was a singer back in the 1970s. You have Sheikh Abdul Rahim Green, I was talking about, Sheikh Imam Zaid Shakir, and Hamza Yusuf, and Bilal Phillips, and so many of them. Very active in da'wah. So as I said before, there are different types of da'wah. Da'wah to Muslims includes advice to Muslims, home da'wah, present da'wah, of course, khutbahs and lectures, da'wah to non-Muslims tours that come to the masjid. We visit them in their schools and universities, open house. We invite them to dinner in Ramadan. We send out pamphlets and books and so on and so forth. Interfaith dialogue and da'wah to new Muslims, the mentorship program. We help them learn about Islam. The qualifications for a da'ah, inshallah, we have about 15 more minutes to go. The first one, basic knowledge of Islam and the culture. You have to know about Islam and the culture of the people that you're talking to. Otherwise, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. Of course, you have to speak good English. The majority of the imams who come from the Middle East, especially from Egypt, their English is not the best. Of course, if someone tries to make da'wah here, they know the culture and they speak good English, but they don't have the knowledge. So you have to have a combination of everything. The communication skills, the style, and a da'i basically is a salesperson. الداعية هو في طبيعة الحال هو مندوب مبيعات، بيشتغل مندوب مبيعات عند رب العالمين. Okay? So if you want to convey the message, you have to do it in the best way. So da'wah to non-Muslims, and of course actions speak louder than words. Most people who accept Islam that I gave Shahada accepted Islam because they met a good Muslim and they were impressed by them and they wanted to be as good as they are, so they took Shahada. Not by talking. Of course, you have to have the knowledge to speak about Islam, because if you want to talk to someone and you don't have the knowledge, you will not be able to convey the knowledge. And sometimes you would give Islam a black eye. I remember when I started to make da'wah a long time ago in Egypt, I think I was in the first year of college, in 1997. And I went to that church in Cairo and I started to talk to that nun in the Egyptian church. And she told me, my English was not the best at that time. So she told me, how come that you say that Allah has 99 names in Islam, but none of them is the loving one? But Jesus is the loving one. I didn't have the proper knowledge and how to answer at that time. Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has one of his names that mean the loving one? Al-Wadud Ahsan. One of the 99 beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Wadud in Arabic. And Al-Wadud means the loving one. So the answer is there in the Quran, but I didn't have the knowledge back then. So if you want to represent Islam, you have to have the knowledge. Of course, the wisdom. Sometimes when people come to learn about Islam, you tell them, you talk to the guy and tell, you have to grow your beard. And you talk to the lady, and you tell her, if you accept Islam, and inshallah you're going to force your husband to accept Islam, and please let him marry 4 wives, because this is part of Islam. He has to marry 4 wives. And of course, in one time, one of the shuyukh, a lady came to accept Islam, and he asked her, did you take a shower before you come? She said, okay, do I smell bad or what? No. Taking a shower is not an obligation. And you don't have to have 2 witnesses for someone to take shahada. This is something recommended, but not an obligation. If someone comes to you and tell you, I need to take shahada, don't tell them, go home and take a shower. I wouldn't ask them before they come. If they do, alhamdulillah. If they don't, it's not a big deal. 2 witnesses is not a big deal. Sometimes some people come to you, I smoke stuff and I drink beer. Can I accept Islam now, or should I wait for 6 months until I quit, then I can? Don't tell them wait. No, take shahada now, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. Sincerity. You give da'wah fi sabilillah. هل في حد ممكن يعمل دعوة من غير إخلاص؟ طبعا. A few years back, not a few years, a year and a half ago, one of my brothers, he helps me in da'wah and everything. He said he parked his car in the back of the masjid. He went after Isha to get his car and go home. He found this Muslim brother standing with this non-Muslim lady in the dark. So when they saw him, and he said, what are you guys doing here? The lady started to run away. And the brother stood there. He didn't know what to do. So the brother said, okay, what are you doing here in the dark? He said, I'm showing her the light. Show her the light in the dark. He was giving her da'wah. This is what he said. You give her a da'wah in the back of the masjid in the dark. What kind of da'wah is this? So you have to have sincerity before you give da'wah to people. Don't show them the light in the dark. Show them the light in the light. And don't push. Here's the thing. Someone will come to the masjid and they just come for a tour to learn about Islam. When you see them, you run to them and you jump over them. Oh, take shahada, you have to do that. Oh. Or they come to you, we are interested in Islam, we need to learn about Islam. Don't jump over them. Don't push Islam on them. One good technique that I've always done, even when people read about Islam and they keep asking questions for weeks or months, the first thing I tell them, even if they come to take shahada, I tell them, if you need more time, we can give you more time. There's no rushing and there's no pushing. Take all the time you need. They say, no, we want to take shahada now. But if you start pushing them, they will go back. Oh, these guys, they will take a commission if I accept Islam. No. If they come, tell them, please take all the time you want. Of course, in your heart, you want them to take shahada now, but this is a good technique. Always make them feel like, if they accept Islam or not, it's not going to make a difference for you. They benefit themselves. They are not benefiting you. This is what Allah says in the Quran. Who gets hidayah, he benefits or she benefits herself or himself. The biggest challenges for da'wah, number one, the miserable condition of the Muslim world. There are so many miserable Muslim countries back home. If you need a proof, the proof is all of us are here. This is one proof. If you came from Egypt or Lebanon or Somalia or Habasha, this is a proof that our countries are miserable, okay? Political corruption, social problems, economic problems. So this is why we run away and we come to this snow and this cold weather. So many years back when I decided to come to Canada and America, someone was telling me, how come do you leave your country with the weather and go to Canada in the cold? So I told him, believe me, brother, the cold weather of Canada is much better than the heat of corruption in my country. Here I can survive, here I can live as a good Muslim, I live a decent life, but back home, there's no way you can survive in such an atmosphere before the revolution. Of course, irresponsible behavior of some Muslims. Horrible people. Okay, I'll give you one story. It's going to break your heart. This brother from a country, I'm not going to name the country, he spoke to this lady, or maybe she was a new Muslim, they chatted on Facebook or Yahoo. She accepted Islam, alhamdulillah. She and her family, non-Muslim family, sponsored him to come here. And for several years, after they got married, he stayed with them in the house. He's a professional. He makes a lot of money. He was not paying a penny in the house. He didn't give her mahr or dowry. When she read about Islam and she